How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today, we're going to be talking with Seth Ruhling. He is a professional ultra runner, sponsored and supported by the North Face. He's done some crazy big races that we're going to talk about. This is definitely an area that I don't know as much about, so the Stupid Questions, I think, are in abundance, unlike maybe some of the episodes, as some of you have told me. But today, just going to be talking with him, get a little bit of his backstory. I know him because he grew up in a similar area that I went to college for a while, and his name is Seth, and my name is Seth, and because he's from this area and was in triathlon at one point, I get compared to him all the time because when they hear Seth's coming on a ride, sometimes they think it's him, and they're like, oh, this guy's going to be strong, and then they're sorely disappointed when I arrive. But yeah, anyway, don't want to talk too much. Enjoy this episode. It's a little bit of a longer one, but super fun. Without further ado, Seth Ruhling. I have to give a little shout out. You know Benjamin Foote, our mutual friend. He told me I
Yeah.
couldn't start this thing without mentioning him and him saying hello. So Ben says hi.
Oh, amazing. Tell him hi. Yeah, yeah, I feel like he's always like the first person to comment on something that I post on Instagram or something like that.
Oh yeah, he's a lover.
Very, very into it.
Yeah. Good deal, man. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on to the Stupid Questions podcast with me. The first question I'd love to start out with is one of my favorites. Who is Seth?
Who am I, or who is Seth Ruhling,
Yeah.
in third person? I don't know. I'm just a dude who, yeah, I don't know. You probably depends who you ask who Seth Ruhling is. I think
Sure.
most people would just say he's if you Google me, I'm just like
Yeah.
a trail runner.
Sure.
I think I'm just a dude that likes to go, likes to exercise and play
Yeah.
around in the mountains. So, kind of in all modes and, yeah, I don't know. I'm still figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm all about. So,
How old are you?
20, I'm gonna have to get out a calendar. 29.
29. When's the
Yeah.
big 3-0 coming?
I think I have a year. I have almost a year. My birthday's in September, so
Oh, nice. Yep.
well, yeah, once I'm 30. I mean, I feel like I have the body of an 80-year-old, so I'm not really fazed by the number
Sure.
at this point.
Yeah, I was watching, doing a little homework on you, and I think it was the Single Track podcast, and you said you have
Mm.
bones made of porcelain, of which I was thinking,
Yeah.
is porcelain as hard as ceramic, or ceramic and porcelain the same thing?
Yeah, I don't even actually know what porcelain is.
Okay.
I thought porcelain and ceramic, and I don't know, it's all the same to me, but yeah, I'm pretty fragile, which
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm always kind of getting from running, always
Sure.
dealing with certain injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I don't know if it's gotten worse since high school or not, but
Yeah.
I feel like I have to be a little bit more careful, like now, especially.
Yeah. Don't want you to break your hip and end it all, huh?
No, yeah. No hip replacements here.
Good. So the last name Ruling, do you know the etymology, the history of your family name?
It's German, right?
I have no idea.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it's German.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Ruhling?
my dad's adopted, so I don't
Okay.
know. We don't know much about that, but I forgot where I was. I was in the States, but somebody was like, "Oh, Ruling, that's a very German name," and I was like,
Cool.
first I've ever heard of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then my mom's side of the family is 100% German. Like their last name is Winzelberger and
Nice.
Schneider, so it's yeah.
Are those the actual last names?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
Winzelberger? Nice.
Yeah, Winzelberger. So yeah, super German.
Yeah.
But so I'm pretty sure that's most of my blood is German, but I don't really know.
Have you visited any of the family roots, like gone back to Germany and met with any
No,
potential family? Nope.
no, I've never been to Germany. I was supposed to go this summer. I was just supposed to fly into Munich, but I never actually made that trip happen. So,
Bummer.
yeah, maybe next year, another year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to Germany though.
Yeah. It's a cool place. I've been to Berlin for a short few days, and it was a neat place. I'd love to go back.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard it's a good scene.
Yeah. So where are you from?
I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, or I guess more directly, which you would know this, but most people don't know where it is. Appleton, Tennessee.
Appleton,
Um,
Tennessee.
Appleton, which is yeah, like a suburb outside of Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Grew up there. Like I was born in
Born and
Chattanooga and
raised.
raised and lived there for all but a few years of my life.
Yeah, and that's because of you recently moved, like in the past, what, 5 or 6 years, right? Like you were there through that whole entire first part of your life.
Yeah, yeah. I moved to yeah, we moved to Boulder not even 3 years ago. So
Really?
yeah, was it from Chattanooga or like lived in Chattanooga? I mean, I guess I went to school in Northeast Tennessee for a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, like almost my entire life is like Chattanooga, and then yeah, now we're out in Boulder, Colorado,
Yeah.
which has been fun. It's like
Yeah.
not so different.
So I have a question about Boulder because I've been considering potentially moving there. It's just
Hmm.
like not like a long term thing, but like a, experience the Boulder scene. What is rent like out there, and is it actually atrocious as everyone says?
Oh, it's terrible.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we like so we first moved here, and we were in a town that's like 20 minutes east called Longmont, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like okay rent. And then now we like moved into Boulder, and like for what we get, our rent is like crazy. And it's
Really?
like, yeah, like I mean, I don't know. Like we're in like a little like 800 square foot apartment maybe, and it's like without utilities like 2,000 a month. So it's pretty pricey. And then
Yeah.
like if we were on like we're not on like the best streets, but if we like wanted to move to the best streets of Boulder,
The
it's like
best streets.
yeah, like the good street, streets that like are really nice to live in. It would be like crazy. So yeah, Boulder compared to Chattanooga. I mean Chattanooga's getting kind of expensive, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we're paying like double now
Yeah.
what we were when we were in Chattanooga for like kind of the similar thing.
Yeah.
Um, but hasn't kept us away yet.
Yeah. So as
Yeah.
we said, I'm living where you used to live in the Appomattox area out in Redneckville.
Hmm.
So I have actually no idea what the good streets of Boulder actually means, and I think some people might. What does that actually mean? Like good coffee shops?
Oh, yeah, there's no bad streets in Boulder. I mean, I haven't experienced a bad street in Boulder, but um, there's like there's Pearl Street, which is kind of like has all the shops and everything. Like
Okay.
actually not a lot happens outside of Pearl Street. And then there's the paralleling streets, like two or three paralleling on each side that are like quite good to live in.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so those those would probably be like if and they're easy to like hit the trails from there. Like you're kind of like tucked right up in the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
or right up against the mountains.
Yeah.
So the further like it's like rent and property, everything like kind of like gets cheaper, like
The more
almost like foot by foot, like you go away from the mountains. But um, yeah, there's not really a bad street in Boulder, I
yeah.
don't think.
Good synopsis. S-
Yeah,
So tell me, siblings, do you have any?
yeah. I have a sister,
Okay.
older sister. She's married, has kids, lives in Brentwood, like near Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she in the music scene or does she just live in Nashville?
No, she just lives in Nashville. She's married. Her husband does eye surgery up in
Okay.
Nashville. So yeah, they just live like just like I don't know, 20 minutes south of Nashville maybe.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it's cool. Yeah, three little nephews.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah,
How much older is she than you then?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. Nice. Do you like? Is she pretty close to you? Are you guys relatively close?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely like closer probably now than we were when we were like kids.
Yeah.
You know, like I
Fighting a
feel like
lot.
we were always yeah we were always like bickering or whatever, and
Yeah.
then when we get older, I don't know. I still give her a lot of crap, but uh, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
all fun.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. Do you have any really fun childhood memories? Fun or crazy or wild memories from you guys when you were younger?
Not really. Like I feel like actually I don't remember. I feel like probably not with my sister necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think she was like kind of the older sister that was trying to like do her own thing.
Sure.
But I feel like as a kid we were always like doing just goofy stuff, like classic like Tennessee redneck stuff, like
Yeah.
sliding around in mud, or
Yeah.
like when it was flooding, like floating rafts down like a river that would form in our front yard, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like just like kind of just outrageous, silly
Yeah,
things.
that's a proper activity.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, yeah, I can't pinpoint like one crazy thing, but yeah, we were always getting up to
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a sister who's 4 years younger than me, and similarly, growing up, we were just always at each other's throats. But because I had more influence, I had her doing all kinds of wild, crazy stuff, building her this jump. Oh yeah, it's totally fine. Hit that thing. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, always like making her do the
yeah,
jumps and stuff.
yeah.
That's funny.
I actually do want to share one quick story because I think people might find it funny. So my sister, she was 4 years younger. We were on our way to this thing called Pathfinders, which for those who don't know what that is, maybe it's like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We're literally going out the door, and Mom's packing up the car, and we had this giant cement like driveway, and I had two 2x4s and like 6 bricks, and she had a scooter, and I convinced her to hit that thing from the top of the hill, and like, dude, she was probably going close to 25, 30 miles an hour, and I built this ramp where you're just leaning the bricks on, or leaning the wood on the bricks, and she hit that thing, and the scooter immediately stopped, and I just remember watching her fly through the air,
Oh
skinned
my
up to the
goodness.
max. My mom's bandaging her. She's so mad at me because we're going to Pathfinders. She's
Yeah.
like covered in blood. But
Oh my
the sibling
goodness.
relationships, I like
Eh,
asking about that because sometimes it's wild.
yeah. It can be crazy. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know. That's crazy. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, built a fair share of ramps myself.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I could never convince my sister to do anything like that.
yeah. You got to be
Yeah,
older.
yeah,
So
it's true.
are you more like your mom or your dad?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I'm an even mix.
Yeah,
I feel like sometimes I'm like my dad, and then I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say. Like I think I'm. Oh, I feel like I'm an even mix. Like
yeah.
maybe like sometimes I'm chill. Like my dad's maybe a little more like even keel, and
Mm-hmm.
then like kind of not bothered by anything. And then sometimes I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm an even mix. Like it's funny. Like as a kid, you're always like, I'm not going to be anything like my parents. And then
Mm-hmm.
you get older and
I
like you
am
do
my
something.
parents.
Yeah, you do something. And you're like, oh, that's like it's like something my dad would do, or
Yeah,
like something my mom would do, or something.
yeah,
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Probably a good mix.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't say.
Well, so does your mom or your dad, either one, favor more of the kind of athleticism, endurance sport stuff?
Yeah. So my dad definitely he got me into running.
Okay.
Because I guess I was in like seventh grade, sixth grade. He started doing marathons, like kind of just with his friends, and so he doing got me into running because I was like, oh well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I like started running, and like I don't know, it was funny. Like I think most kids like start running in track or cross country in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh, like I guess I should do. Like I thought the whole marathon culture was really cool back in the day. Which now in hindsight, I'm like that was kind of dorky, but like
Yeah.
the whole marathon culture was like I thought it was cool when I was like in seventh grade. So just because my dad was doing it, so he got me into the running, and then like my like probably objective like they're both fairly athletic, but like objectively, my mom I didn't get to see a lot of it as a kid, but I think she's like, there's something she does, and I'm like, I think she's actually like the most naturally athletic person in my family.
Really.
Um, yeah, which I don't know. I don't know if I'm like particularly good at. I think the more I run, the worse I am at like other sports. But yeah, I wasn't like terrible at a lot of sports. So, uh, uh, yeah, but the running's definitely like straight from my
Shit
dad for
from your
sure.
dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. So going into, you mentioned like seventh grade, you're getting into this a little bit. You start to
hmm
get a love for running and sports. How did that coincide with like you moving into middle school and then to high school, and you start to, I guess, find yourself a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess like middle school. I don't know. Like I was so into other sports too in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ran because it was like my dad was running and he was going to marathons. So like maybe I would sign up for like the 5K, or like eventually like in 8th grade, I think was the first, or maybe I don't even know what. 8th grade probably was when I did like half marathon. Like
Okay.
my dad would go like travel to these marathons, and I would like just sign up for the half marathon because it was something to do. And we'd like print out the like little like runner's world. Like it used to be free. I think you had to pay for it now. But yet
Training
you could
plan or
like
something.
type, you could just, yeah, you could just like type in what you were training for, and it like create you a plan.
Oh wow, that's great.
Like sort of like internet generated,
Yeah,
or I don't know.
AI generated.
Um, AI, yeah,
Yeah,
before AI was a big thing.
yeah,
And then yeah, so then once I was like, but I was like really into basketball and stuff, and which is funny because I'm quite short.
mm,
But yeah, I would have much rather played basketball than go run at that age. And
yeah,
then once I got into high school, that kind of shifted. Like it's interesting how like I think this happens probably for a lot of people if they're like better at something than something else. Like it's like it's so easy just like that positive reinforcement of like, oh, like I'm good at this, I'm not so good at that, like
yeah,
sort of changes what you're into. And so like in high school, like freshman year, I was like on the cross country team and like was far better at that than I was at like any other sport.
yeah.
And like I kind of like became known as like the runner kid.
Nice.
My freshman year, I wasn't the best on the team. Like I was actually like fifth best on the team, I think, freshman year. But it
Okay.
was like I was just like the best freshman.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that kind of built. And so like I think freshman year I still tried to do other sports. Sophomore year I still did like tennis or something. And then it wasn't until junior year that like I remember junior year cross country because that was in the fall. There wasn't any competing sports that I would do in the fall. So I like focus on that, and it was like actually training really well in the summer. Before that, had a good year in cross country, and then started track in the spring and tennis. And I was just like, I don't know, it was like maturity or whatever. I was just like, what
Yeah.
am I doing? Like, I should just be doing track. Like, I'm not actually that good at tennis.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun, but these meets are like, you go to a tennis match or whatever, and it's like so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
sitting there like watching your teammates play or whatever. So yeah, so then I like, yeah, just kind of like, I don't even think I played a single match that year. I think I just quit and
Oh,
did
seriously.
track. Yeah, and then that was just kind of like my identity. And then that's when I started diving a little deeper into like the world of running and
Mm,
track, and like being really interested in like, oh, like maybe I could run in college or whatever, and kind of investing a little bit more in like my fitness and my like running ability,
mm-hmm.
rather than just like doing things for fun. But yeah, it was like, I don't know. I definitely like running definitely helped me like, I don't know if it, like through high school like find myself or like I found running. I don't really know, but like it definitely like high school, like midway through high school became like a little bit more of my identity. And I guess
Yeah.
now it's like 99%. Like you ask like
Yeah.
who is Seth Ruhling, and you
Mm-hmm.
look it up, it's like, oh, he's just a runner. So that's that's my identity.
Yeah.
I live by that now, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask this question later, but I have to ask it now just because you touched on it in that way. I've talked with others in the past, and a lot of Olympic level athletes, not all of them, but of your stature, they'll go into this thing. It is 100% who they are, and then
Hmm.
when the time comes when it's like, what do I do next? Whether that's through injury or whether that's just through the natural progression of, hey, I'm a little older and I'm deciding to do something else. It's usually really difficult, it seems, for that person, whoever this is, to like kind of make a shift in their mind. Okay, how can I carry a lot of these values of who I am into something else? So do you think about that often, or do you think about it at
Mm,
all?
no, I definitely think about it. I mean, yeah, I feel like I think about it. I do think about it. It's hard to think about what it's like to like not try. I don't know if it's like the identity thing. For me, it's almost more like, what is it like to like wake up every day and not like try to like not like have to go for a run or like whatever to get fitter. Like yeah, I don't know what that's like. So at some point I'll find out and it'll be fine. But I don't think about it too much or too seriously. Like I'm a little bit of a uh like I definitely have my fair share of worries, but I do try to like just live in certain things, just like day to day,
Yeah.
and like not take it too seriously. So no, I haven't really thought about that a whole ton, but I don't know. I'll find something else. Like
Yeah.
when I'm done running, I'll go race bikes or something
Yeah.
at like a master's level and find the next thing. Actually, we talk about that all the time. The guys I run with, we're always like, "Oh, I can't wait till we're like too old to run, and then we can just go like crush on like
Get on the bikes.
bike races or something." Like, I mean, I don't know. And you see it a lot in Colorado. Like, there's all these like old dudes that are like
Just
so good,
yeah,
and
just
it's like,
insane
yeah,
power.
they're yeah, and you're like, oh, like, well, they were like an ex this, or like, oh, that guy's like climbed Everest 4 times, and he's
Oh
like
my word.
so good on the bike. It's like, yeah, it's kind of fun. So that's probably what I'll strive to do, is just
Yeah.
be like the fit old dude.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that'll be.
No, good thoughts. Well, I'll make sure to send you this clip in the future, and then we'll see if you end up becoming that amazing
Yeah,
cyclist.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which
Absolutely.
you still cycle quite a bit, right? Like you're not cycling. I see
Yeah,
you ride quite a bit.
yeah. I definitely ride a lot. Like well, I love cycling. It's like so much fun.
Hmm.
Um, but some of it's out of necessity because I am kind of injury prone. So, uh, yeah, like this year I had to like ride a lot more, especially early in the year, and it's just because I was injured.
Hmm.
Um, and but yeah, like I still love riding. Like I haven't been out on the bike in a few weeks, and it feels bad. So
Yeah, you
I
miss it.
definitely want to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit to high school when you were starting to get into this running stuff. Obviously, your parents influenced that to a degree. As your dad and mom saw you start to become the best freshman, were they supportive and kind of pushing you in that direction, or was it more of like, oh, this is what I want to go do?
Uh, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they were supportive. They weren't pushy. Like I could have probably quit running and like I don't know. I mean, I think they liked the whole running thing because it was like um, it's better than I don't know. Like it's probably healthier than a lot of other things kids were doing
Yeah, for sure.
in high school. So um yeah, no, they were super supportive. Like my dad ran marathons, so like like they would drive me to meets
Hmm.
and all this. Like went to a fair bit of my cross country meets and track meets and bought my shoes, things like that. So yeah, definitely supportive. I think there was definitely like a time where they were probably like, "Oh, you're like a little too obsessed with it." But then yeah, like now it's kind of paid off.
Yeah,
Um,
Lit-
like literally,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is nice.
Like it's
Um,
your job now.
yeah, so it's kind of uh, yeah, like yeah, and they're like yeah, super proud,
Yeah,
um, kind of obnoxiously. So at least on the internet, sometimes
yeah,
on
yeah.
social media, they're like a little too proud, which is always fun.
You'll understand probably if you have children.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean like I don't know, my cat or dog does something, and I'm like going over to people's house and be like, yo, like the cat, like I don't
Used
know,
a
did this
little bit.
thing. It was so great or so funny.
That's so funny.
So I can't imagine what it's like with the actual kid.
Yeah, especially when you bring them into the world. So we talked a little bit about going into high school, and then I guess I read or I heard that you got a scholarship to run in college for Lee
Hmm.
University, which is just up the hill. Was that the kind of the part of Tennessee you said you moved to for school? And
No, I still lived in Appleton for during that
okay,
period. I would just drive. Because I got a scholarship, and the way actually, I feel like people, and I don't know if this is how every scholarship works. I feel like a lot of people don't know this, but you can get at least the way it worked there is like I got a scholarship to run, and it was for like a set amount.
mm-hmm.
That was like a set amount that would have covered like me staying in the dorms. So I didn't stay in the dorms, so that the extra money just went to my bank account, which is kind of nice.
Oh, actually, wow,
Yeah, like actually, like at the end of the semester, because it would like it was like kind of like in I don't even know how it worked, but like I could like buy food from that scholarship pool, and then so at the end of the semester, it would just like plop into my bank account. I think I had to go to like I don't know somewhere and get them to write a check or whatever, but
yeah, yeah,
I can't really remember. But yeah, I was only there for a year and a half. Like I was super injured, all
really,
the time. Yeah, great coach. I just had like kind of had like a little eating disorder thing, so I was like way too light, and I was always injured and like just not actually racing. Like I think the whole time I think I raced like 5 or 6 times
Really? In a year and a half?
in a year and a half, which is like in college there's 3 seasons: cross country, indoor track, and outdoor track. And I think I'd like race like 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
I like in each of those, and then just be injured the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wasn't having any fun. Because I was injured, and like the coach, he's still there. He's actually like Lee, like people maybe don't know, but Lee University is like one of the best D2 cross country and track programs
Really?
in the nation. Yeah, they produce like a handful of, or maybe like 3 or 4 sponsored from this one coach, like 3 or 4 sponsored runners, like
Mm-hmm.
national titles.
Wow.
So yeah, they're quite good. So he was a great coach, but I was just always
Yeah.
injured, dealing with my own things.
Yeah. Do you mind if I dive into that a little bit, or would you prefer me to move
No,
it?
yeah, I don't. No, I don't care.
Shoot me
Yeah,
the story on the eating disorder stuff, because I have a little bit of
yeah,
that in my background, but I'm curious what your experience was.
yeah. I was actually just talking about this with somebody, one of my buddies that just moved here the other day. Yeah, it was just weird. Like I after high school, um, like I wasn't heavy. I wasn't heavy at all. Like I've always been tiny. But I just like got into college and I started learning a little bit about like power to weight and like realizing like the truth of that, like if you weigh less and you keep the same power, you'll just go faster. And I was like, well, this is easy. Like I can just like
Oh my
I
goodness.
can keep training and I can just like not eat as much and I'll like be faster. Like
And not
and
recover.
it, yeah, exactly. So like right. So it was like true, but it was like in I I know I wasn't the only one dealing with this. Like
Yeah.
this was like a very common, especially during those years. It's
Mm.
hopefully a little less common now. And they, like even coaches at the time didn't really know much else. Like yeah, so like I would just like I don't know, like it was all performance based, but then I think eventually it turned into like not being performance based. It was a little bit more like,
I don't want to gain weight.
yeah, I don't want to gain weight. Like I like the number or whatever on the scale. Like I was weighing myself all the time and like I'd skip. Yeah, super stupid. Like now what we know about nutrition and like how important like
Mm.
everything is for running, like eating a lot is really good for your running and
Yeah.
your athletic ability. It's just funny because I was like I wouldn't eat lunch and then I'd
Oh
have
my
like
goodness.
those like a little pack of sports beans because I was like, oh, I need at least sugar to run. So I'd like have just some like little like jelly beans and then like
Yeah.
go run and then come home. And it wasn't like like that was generally kind of the only meal I skipped. Like I would eat like a normal breakfast, but
Mm-hmm.
I like would skip lunch and have coffee and then go run because we had practice at like 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
every day. And then afterwards I'd like eat until I was stuffed, right? Like I'd
Mm.
eat so much, but it was just like wasn't I was already in such a big calorie deficit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so I was like, oh, I was like 15 pounds, 16 pounds lighter than I am now.
How much do you weigh right
Um,
now? I'm curious.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't weighed myself in a long time. I'm usually in the 125 to 130 range.
Yeah.
Um,
That's where I am.
probably right
Like
now a little
125.
heavier. Probably right now a little heavier because I haven't been running that much. I had a little off season.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like I mean, it's so funny because at the time I was like, why am I always get injured? Like I need to do more strength, need to do more stretching, foam rolling, all this
Yeah.
riffraff. And then like now I'm like smart enough to know that I was like, yeah, because I was like way too light. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would actually like it was like kind of directly proportional to how little I weighed was
Wow.
like how injured I'd get, and I was always sick too. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. I remember I did a race up in at UT University of Tennessee, 10K up there, and I was like sick as a dog, and I would just get like sick every like twice in the spring and like twice in the fall. Um, and yeah, like obviously like now I look back and it's like, oh, because I like wasn't eating enough.
Yeah.
I was just like
Sheesh.
malnourished.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, like now everything's good. And I don't know, I don't really it took me a while to actually call it an eating disorder because um I don't know. I always felt like eating disorder was like for other people.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and then now I'm like, no, that was probably an eating disorder, but
Yeah.
I don't like feel any kind of way about it. Like just glad that it's over.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting. I'm curious. You said like it changed from like more of a performance-based thing and then not. Was it more of like, because you said it was numbers on a scale, but were you ever like, oh, in the mirror, I don't like the way I look? Was it more any of that at all, or was it?
Mm, not so much because I was like, I don't know.
Oh,
Like I never thought. I mean, it was interesting, yeah, because like sometimes it was like a number on a scale, but then, yeah, I guess like maybe there were certain aesthetic things that I thought were associated with fitness, that sometimes can be,
mm-hmm.
but like not eating a lot, like it's like you can be really fit and be really veiny, or you could be not fit and really skinny and be really veiny. And so it's like, well, I could just be really
Yeah,
skinny and like be very veiny or something.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I definitely kind of associated it like that, but I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's super interesting. I
yeah.
haven't thought to ask anyone else about that. The only reason I delved into it is because you mentioned it there for a second, but as a younger kid, I was always afraid of getting fat, and I also wasn't super like into athletics. And then like it for a while, it became I would eat a ton, and then it's so strange. And this is gonna sound really weird, but like I never thought that I would be this type of a person to do this type of a thing. But I wanted to eat, and then I was like, oh, I'll just purge, or I'll literally throw up, and then I threw up, and then
Mm,
it like literally became a weird addiction, and it took me a while to like. It probably took me 4 or 5 years before I like got out of it, and it took me probably 2 or 3 to realize like, oh, this is a problem, because I was
yeah,
in
yeah.
your own mind, you're telling yourself, or at least I was, I'm like, oh, it's like it's just a thing, and oh, I don't do it that often, and I'm not checking myself into a hospital because I'm walking with no weight on my bones.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's why I was just curious, but I wish I could say it was performance based, but it totally wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is for all right. Like all those things where it's like, oh, somebody else has this
Yeah,
disorder, not
yeah,
me.
yeah,
And you're like, no, it's kind of
yeah, it's kind of
part of
me.
the
Yeah.
disorder. Yeah.
So when did you
Well.
realize that you were like good at sports? Because we mentioned going back a little bit to when you were younger, you're like, oh, I was the best in the freshman class. But
Hmm.
as that became more of your identity, did you just wake up one day and you're like, okay, I'm going to be a professional athlete. This is my forte.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a professional
Oh,
athlete.
really? Okay.
Like if I really think about it, it's like, I mean, I was MVP in Little League, like it was
Oh, let's go.
uh, like I was always like, I wanted to be a professional baseball player for
Okay.
however long I was little.
Yeah.
And then I guess there was probably a few years, but I didn't actually do that many sporty things, to be honest. I didn't actually like play sports for a few years after the baseball era, like maybe like fourth grade to like seventh grade.
Okay.
I actually like didn't really play many sports. It wasn't until I like got a new friend who was into tennis
Mm-hmm.
that suckered me into like playing tennis, and then I was like, all right, like I like sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then yeah, but like, and then yeah, after that it was like it, I definitely knew I wanted to be a professional runner or cyclist or something in that realm. When I was like in seventh grade. Like, like that was a dream.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd go to these marathons, and the marathon culture at the time was like Ryan Hall, was like the guy everybody looked up to
Yeah.
in the marathon because he was the best American marathoner. He's tall, blonde. I don't know. I don't know what people like other people liked about him, but I thought he was great.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just want to be like him. And yeah, I didn't think I'd be like running trails professionally because that's such a weird niche of the sport. But um, yeah, I definitely like always was striving to be a professional.
Yeah.
Um, so which took a little longer than I wish it did, but
Yeah.
yeah, here we are.
Yeah, so tell me about that journey because, like you mentioned cycling there. I know you, just from friends who I've kind of talked to, you picked up cycling there when you were relatively young. You got pretty good at it pretty fast, and then you were
Hmm.
running, and then there was like triathlon in the mix. So, talk me through that transition from like, okay, I realize I'm going to try to do this thing, but then you're like doing cycling, and then maybe triathlon, and you decide that's not your thing. Like, give me the long, beautiful story of that.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It just like I think probably the synopsis is I just wasn't. I think about this a lot. I just wasn't patient
Mm,
enough in each thing. But I so right. So I wanted to like be a professional like track runner
okay.
when I got out of high school. So I was like, obviously you go through the college system. That's like the best way to do that. And then in college just wasn't, like we touched on, it just wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And so then I looked at triathlon for some, because I was like, I know I still like riding bikes, like, because I like cycled still in
Yeah.
college. I love cycling, like love the culture of it. I love running, like not gonna give that up. And so it was like, I'll do triathlon, which is like very, actually, like now that I think about it, like it's very different than cycling or running. It's like total, like,
Yeah.
but at the time I was like, oh, I'm like, I can be good at those two things and I'll just figure out swimming, which actually never happened. But um yeah, and so I was like, triathlon was full on. Like I like thought I was just gonna like jump in and like get my pro license in triathlon like immediately. And um that didn't happen. It didn't happen that quickly. So then, yeah, I guess from sophomore year or like junior year of college to all the way till I was like out of college, I was just like focusing on triathlon, and I was just getting like a little better, a little better, a little better.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm gonna be pro. Like I got to get my pro license. Like in triathlon, you kind of have to get um, a pro license from the federation to like race in a pro category.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you do that by like performances in races that pros are in.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a few other ways, like there's an elite development program. There's actually a streamlined college to college NCAA like pathway where you can
Yeah.
just go straight to
And
pro.
that's even relatively new. Yeah.
That is relatively new. I think it was just kicking off when I was trying to do this, but it was also like, guys like Matt McElroy were part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's was way better at running than I was.
Sure.
So and then I kind of had like a little falling out with triathlon because it was hard and had a lot of different sports to balance.
Yeah.
Right after college. And so I like started just cycling a lot, which didn't last long because then I went back to triathlon. And it was actually the year after I graduated college that I did well at like a half Ironman distance and got my pro license in triathlon.
Chattanooga, right?
Chattanooga. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Chattanooga 70.3. Got my pro license there, which is funny. I won the like age group category, but I didn't know that qualified me for my pro license until
They send
like
you an email.
I was checking my DMs and somebody was like, "Oh, you're gonna apply for your pro license, right?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And
Yeah.
then they were like, and then I looked it up and it was like, sure enough.
Yeah.
So then I was a pro triathlete for
20 minutes.
well, I mean,
I'm just
20
kidding.
minutes. I mean, yeah, for like a year. I tried for a year. I actually never raced anything as a pro triathlete because the one race I was gonna do that was like at the end of the season, I got mono, and so I
Dang.
was out for a month. And then in the winter, I realized that I wasn't like I didn't actually love it. Like I hated swimming, and
Mhm.
it's always true. I always hated swimming. But yeah, and so then I was actually like the next spring, like probably like the following spring after I got my pro license, I quit triathlon by like the great guidance of my coach at the time, triathlon coach. He was like, "You should just quit," and I was like, "Yeah, that's probably what I should do." Which
Who?
is like amazing when a coach tells you should quit.
Yeah.
Um,
Who was your coach
because
at that point? May I ask?
it was James DeLong. You
James
know him.
DeLong, everybody.
Yeah, it wasn't like he didn't tell me I should quit. He was like, "You just need to do something that you enjoy,"
Yeah, you got to enjoy it.
which was great. And so yeah, that's like I remember I did a mountain bike race, and then the next weekend I did a running race. And at mountain bike race, I got like this is after I kind of like quit triathlon.
Yeah.
I did a mountain bike race and I got like ninth or something, and then the next weekend I did a trail race and I won, and I was like, kind of back to that like positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Won that, and then did another one and I won, and then I did another 50K and
Wait,
I
pause.
won.
I want to hear what these races were. What was the first one that you won?
It was Seven Sisters. It was like it's called Seven Sisters 25K. I can't remember.
Okay.
Near Asheville.
Okay. North Carolina.
And then I did an Eastern Divide. I think it's called Eastern Divide 50K. It was in Virginia somewhere.
Okay, sweet.
I won that, set the course record, and which was like not that impressive at the time because it's not like a pro. Like it wasn't like an incredibly
show up,
competitive
relatively
race.
small. Mm-hmm.
And then it was Stump Jump 50K in Chattanooga in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I did that race, and it was the first time I raced a sponsored runner. And I won and set the course record there.
Yeah.
Um,
That was with North Face, right? Like you just
I wasn't signed with
no.
them yet. No, this
Okay.
is all like, yeah, I was just running.
Okay.
And then the next race after that was JFK 50 miler in 2019, and it's like a pretty big 50 miler.
Yeah.
Good pro field. Usually a good pro field. Like the time there is really important
Mm-hmm.
because it has a lot of history.
Sure.
And then yeah, so then I won that first time. I don't know, like that distance was really long at the time, like 50 miles.
Yeah. Like long
And
for you or long for the sport? In
long
how
for
it,
me. For
okay.
me, yeah, for the sport, it's still normal, still average. But
Yeah.
and then yeah, and then yeah, that night was when I got in touch with the North Face. So it was kind of interesting because I got my pro license and then in triathlon, and like the next year I didn't do triathlons, but then became a professional trail runner,
Yeah.
I guess,
N-
whenever I signed my contract.
Yeah. No regrets, right? You don't ever think about
No,
triathlon?
not triathlon. No, I like, this is unpopular because I know you interview a lot of triathlon people.
No, hit it up. Bring it out. Trash
I
it.
like, I like, yeah, if any, like, I think triathlon's great. Like, for people, it's funny, like, for people who are into it or like love it, it's great. Like, I went to strong like another Seth Ryder.
Yeah.
He's a professional ITU
Yeah,
racer.
no, he is.
Like talking to him, I actually met up with him in Spain a few months ago, and was like, it was sick. He was like talking about it, and I was like, yeah, like you are like what I was wanting to be. Like the way you talk about it is very interesting. It was compelling. I wanted to do triathlon. Like I wanted to be a pro, like he was, and he's like
Mm-hmm.
loving it. He's good at it. Like he
Yeah.
compartmentalizes all the training very well. That I'm like, that's sick. Like I started watching triathlon, like ITU racing again after like not watching any of it. Like I just like cold turkey, like unfollowed all these
Yeah, yeah.
triathlon Instagram accounts because I was like, I can't handle it.
Wow.
But dude, like I will never do triathlon. Like I will never do triathlon in a serious way.
Okay,
Like
I was gonna say never say
well,
never.
yeah, I might one day like hop in, just be like, oh,
Um,
look what I can still do, kind of thing. But like,
yeah.
yeah, I'll never, it's just
Yeah.
too much to do. Trail running's a little bit more. It's getting tighter, but it's a little loose, and like
It
it feels a little bit more like playing in the mountains than it does training sometimes.
yeah, 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 for sure. So triathlon obviously is like not even that old of a sport. Ultra running obviously is a super old sport, but ultra running and the I guess ultra trail running with the niche that you're in, how old is that? Does it have like a founding date of when like okay, there's this big race? UTMB, like
Uh,
how long has that been around and all those?
yeah, UTMB not so long. I think it was been 20 years this year. Is
Okay.
it 20th?
Yeah, so still pretty young.
Um, so not that long, but like yeah, in Europe, trail running's been like around for I can't give a date, but a long time. Like
1592.
Yeah, like I don't even know. Like Sears and all was, I don't know. I feel
Yeah.
like they were racing that thing 80 years ago. But I
Yeah.
mean, like Western States, which is like the big 100 miler in the US, is like, I don't have a number, but it's been around for a long time as well. Because it
Yeah.
started as like a horse race or something. There's like
Oh,
an
no
interesting
way.
history there. But
Okay. Check that out.
yeah, and then like the JFK 50, like I just did again
Yeah.
a few weeks ago, and it's like that was the 61st running of it. So I guess it's been around for 60 years, but
Okay.
I don't, as a professional sport,
Yeah.
I don't think very long.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of what the sport's going through right now, is kind of these like growing pains
Yeah.
of being a new, at least on the professional side, it's like these growing pains of like the pro side of the sport is like still trying to figure out how to like,
Organize itself.
or yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
organize itself. And but yeah, I don't know how long. I don't know.
Is there like a, because I know there's USA Triathlon and USA Cycling, USA Running, Swimming, yada, yada, yada. Is there a specific niche for that yet? Like, is it in the talks of
Uh,
becoming an Olympic sport even?
I don't. Ooh, it should be an Olympic sport.
Should be. It'd be great.
Um, there is, so in certain countries there's a federation for sure
Okay.
for trail. I know Italy, Germany, Sweden, um, Sweden. Yeah, and I think Holland. I don't know. There's good, but here in the U.S. it's just USA Track and Field.
Mm-hmm.
Um, manages the ultra and trail team, and we really don't do anything, and like they don't step in unless there's a world championship,
Okay.
which happens every year, but the Olympic years for whatever reason. So yeah, that's when there's like it's really federation based, but not. It's about as hands on as I'd say USA Track and Field is with road running.
Yeah.
Or track and field even.
Okay.
They're like they kind of have a say in things, but really they don't help anybody out.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Mark, and we're gonna make a reel.
Yeah. So, or like other countries, the federation like funds the athletes, and in trail, I think that is true at times currently.
Interesting,
in
based on what
countries.
they think is a cool enough race to get you to.
Yeah. Well, there's like European Cup races in trail.
Okay.
There's some of these kind of like national type races in trail, and it just depends on the area. Like certain areas in Europe are like have such a deep history. Like, I mean, shoot, like you show up to a race and like as an American runner, you're like sponsored by like one company, maybe two, but then you show up to a race in Europe and like they're like, yeah, they look like NASCAR. They look like NASCAR, with like a million sponsors. You're like, oh, you're like sponsored by like a toothpaste company or something. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, how'd you get like actually like a lot of my North Face teammates who live in Europe or have like car sponsors. So it's cool. Like kind of crazy.
BMW. Yeah. There's one professional triathlete that had that. Yeah. Jan Frodeno had like Mercedes, and I'd never seen a car.
Yeah.
So then
totally. Yeah.
That's super fascinating.
Similar.
So, tell me about you drop the triathlon thing, and then you go and win some of these races, and you're kind of moving over. What was the move into that being a professional? Like, how did you become a professional in trail running?
Yeah. So yeah, there's not like a pro. I mean, there is a pro category now, like based on your world ranking.
Okay.
You have to have a certain enough. Everybody that runs a trail race, for the most part, has a number associated with their name, even if like, anybody go like I don't know, some kid goes to some trail race, they have a number associated with their name as far as like their talent level. So now there's a ranking system, and above a certain amount is kind of like what we would say is like pro as far as ability. But for me, like being a pro kind of meant like I was just getting paid to do it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So, and it's and like I had a good ranking, I guess, before I got signed. Like I kind of was able to get into most races, but then afterwards it was like, you just name drop like I run for, and it's
North
like
Face.
easy. Yeah.
What was that day like? Like you're starting to win some stuff, and then North Face reaches out. Were you shaking? Were you expecting it? Like,
no, I wasn't expecting it at all. It was funny. The race director of JFK, the race that I won and kind of like got me sponsored, he was like, this race will like change your life. Like people all over the world are going to see like this, the picture of the podium or whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then like, then like that night, like I was put in contact with my now athlete manager. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't expect it. I don't know. It just kind of like happened. Like I didn't expect it at all. And then I also wasn't like freaking out. It's I think this whole journey has been one of those things where it's like, as it happens, I'm like, I won't think about it. And then I'll look back and be like, oh, that's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like that happened. Like, I don't know, I got sponsored by the North Face, or like that I don't know, was able to like go to Europe and run this race that I've only ever thought about. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of the European races, tell me about the qualification process for the CCC. You went down to, I think, if I can pronounce it right, Puerto Vallarta. Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know.
What? Maybe that's how you say
PB.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they call the PB. Okay. So
that's what I called it. Yeah.
So what was that? What was that like? Like figuring out, okay, I got to go down there. You're making that happen. How do you train for that? Like, what was that all like?
Yeah, that was an interesting race. I definitely like went down there just trying to qualify for CCC because CCC is like the biggest 100K you can do
Mm-hmm.
in the sport. I mean, anything at that UTMB final is kind of the biggest thing you can do in the sport.
Yeah.
And to do that, I had to go get top 3 in Mexico at 100K. And like it was weird because I was in Colorado and it was kind of cold because that race is like at the end of October, and we'd actually had a lot of snow and stuff last year before the race. So I was like having like that race is very hot, and I had to like do training in like snow here. So I was like in the sauna a lot, trying to get ready for it. I'd just kind of come off an injury, so I was like building up quickly to try to cram it in because I like
Wow.
that was like the last chance for me, or so we thought. They kind of keep changing the rules,
Really?
but that was like the last chance for me to qualify, and I just yeah, I don't know. Went down there. I was kind of hoping to win. Like on paper, I should have, and but I ended up like vomiting a ton. Like that
Oof.
was like getting like I don't think I got like normal sick. Like a lot of people I knew that went down there got
Actually sick.
actually sick. They probably like drank the water or something, or like the food, or just stuff like the American stomach's not used to.
Yeah.
But I just like got sick during the race and was like vomiting. But I was in third. Like I was in first at one point, and then I like started like I got passed, and I
Yeah.
was like okay, and then I got passed again by I think a Chinese runner who's like really good. I'm blanking on his name. And then then I was like in third, and I was like I'm like just feeling awful, and I was like okay, like I would have dropped out for sure, but I was in third, and I was like I can't drop out. Like
Yeah, you
I'm
still got a
still in
shot.
a position to qualify. So yeah, I just kind of kept going, and eventually like went to like I was like 5 miles from the finish and just started vomiting. And like couldn't stop vomiting till I don't know 2 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like I think we finished at like 8 o'clock or something, maybe 8 p.m. and was just like up till 2 a.m. I actually went to a clinic, got an IV
Wow.
from like this like clinic, and
Just get
like just
fluids.
was getting fluids, and then like my phone died, and I got out of the clinic and I had no idea where I was, and I was just like
Oh
trying to
my
find my
goodness.
like the whole thing's kind of funny. Like
Yeah.
I was like so tired, like I just vomited my brains out, like had like no energy, and I'm walking around Puerto Vallarta like just like aimlessly walking, trying to figure out where my hotel is,
Oh my
because
word.
I hadn't stayed there yet. Like that was gonna be the first night I stayed at that hotel.
Yeah.
And I finally like I found somebody. They let me borrow their charger. I plugged my phone in. Found anyway, but it was like 3 a.m. before I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And I had to be up. I had to be up at like 6 a.m. to
To leave.
catch a flight. So
Sheesh.
yeah, that whole day was like actually very miserable. But I was so happy to like
Yeah.
punch the ticket for CCC,
Yeah.
which I actually haven't punched it this for next year yet.
Not
So,
yet.
but it was kind of nice to have it out of the way so early. But yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy event. I was in bad shape, man.
Yeah. Sounds like
And it
it.
was funny. Like immediately, like maybe the next week after the race, I got an email from Puerto Vallarta, like the race director, being like, "We'd love to have you come back next year." And I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like,
Maybe not.
yeah, like give me some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nuts, and that course was like crazy. Like we were like bushwhacking the
Yeah.
entire, like so much of it.
What time of year is that race, PV?
End of October.
Okay.
It's around what is it? It's around Halloween, but the Day of the Dead down in
Okay.
Mexico. Like I'm not even gonna say it in Spanish because I can't. I'll just make a fool of myself. But yeah, it's around Halloween.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So you said you haven't qualified yet for CCC this next year. Are you eyeballing a race to make that happen?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to debate. Yeah, kind of debating between CCC, which is the 100K, and UTMB, which is like the marquee race there,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is the 100 miler. So kind of debating there, and currently signed up for Canyons 100K, which is in California.
Yeah.
And that would allow me, like, if I finish top 10 there, because it's a national major. If I finish top 10 there, I'll qualify. So that's the goal.
Okay.
And that's not till I don't even know what date it is. April, May, maybe.
Okay. So
So
you got
yeah, I got
some
some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some time. But yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Really quick with PV, do you know the split for how long fourth was behind you? Like how far away before it became
Yeah,
eighth
actually, it
over?
was. Well, I don't know the split off the top of my head, but I finished. I didn't look at the results for a few days, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, like I had a huge lead, had a
Okay.
huge gap on fourth.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we all had like the top three were like quite a ways away
Nice.
from the rest of the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, because I was scared. I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm gonna get caught. I'm barely moving.
Yeah.
And then I looked back and was like, oh, I could have like gone a lot
Yeah,
slower.
yeah, yeah, and chilled out and get ready to get
Hmm.
lost in PV.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So, leading into like you punched your ticket to a CCC, right? And then
Hmm.
what is your training like? Did you make a shift and like, okay, I'm gonna take this a little more serious here. I'm gonna do this differently. Like you're overcoming injury still. Like I actually heard, I think you had somewhat of a heart problem at some
Yeah,
point. Like what was all that figuring out?
yeah. So kind of a big time gap, but because you Puerto Vallarta, like that 100K,
Mm-hmm.
is in October,
Mm-hmm.
like the end of October, and then UTMB or CCC is actually like the beginning of September.
Okay, so it's like a
So
whole
it's like
year.
I had almost a year.
Yeah.
So yeah, planning that year, it was like CCC was the big goal, and then but I was solely set on like World Championships. That was like the big one
Mm-hmm.
for me, other than CCC. So that whole kind of winter was like just built on because I was wanting to do the shorter trail.
Yeah.
It's called the short trail race, which is like it's still a marathon distance,
Yeah.
but it's not the long one's 50 miles. So I was wanting to do the short trail distance, and yeah, it's just like it was kind of a weird build up in the winter. Like did more speed, and then I got injured and was riding a bunch. And then I like raced a 50K in March and got
Okay.
second and kind of like built into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so the way trail ultras especially work, you can't really race too much. You can only race like kind of like similar to marathons. You can only race like three, maybe four times a year.
Just because it's so
Um,
hard on the body.
yeah, it's hard on the body, and you have to take so much time off that like afterwards, that's just like you got to build back fitness to
Yeah.
be competitive again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like was yeah, I ended up like missing the qualification races to do world championships because I was injured.
Oh,
But then I got selected because there was like one selection spot.
like a wild card
Um,
type of deal.
yeah, like almost every other country does selection based
Oh, really?
instead of competition or a hybrid. Like America is the one of the only countries that is like top three go to the Olympics. Like most other countries are selection based.
Hmm.
Um,
I feel like that's probably smarter, to be honest. But
yeah, I think it's smarter. But it's also like makes people upset because you're like, oh, this person actually hasn't done anything in a while, and
yeah,
then they
yeah,
got selected. And actually, that's how like cycling world championships is selected.
yeah.
It's not qualified; it's selected. So, but for trail worlds, it's like there's a handful or not a handful. There's a few slots that you qualify for it at races, and then there's like I think there was two slots that were up for selection. So then I got selected, and then like 5 days before I was supposed to fly to Germany, because Worlds is actually in Austria, so I was supposed to fly to Munich and then just take the train to Austria.
Yeah.
I got pericarditis, like thought I was having a heart attack.
Uh,
Yeah, I got pericarditis, so I had to like couldn't go race at Worlds, which is a bummer because it was like
right
I
there.
was literally like supposed to like I think it was like one of my last weekdays before I was supposed to fly out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just kind of a bummer.
I mean, that's a
That
huge
would
bummer. Not kind of like,
yeah.
how do you even treat that? How do you?
Rest, yeah,
Yeah.
rest and like there's like a few different meds that are kind of odd to use. Like one's like anti-inflammatory, like ibuprofen or something, and
Yeah.
then the other is like colchicine, which I don't really know what that does, but it's another med. But yeah, and then just rest. Like I technically wasn't supposed to
Do anything.
start running for like almost 3 months, but
You did.
talked to some other doctors, and yeah, I got my heart scan and it came back normal after a couple weeks, and they were like, you can, well, they didn't actually give me explicit saying I could go run again, but I just did.
Nice.
Yeah, and it felt good. I had to
Good.
monitor my heart rate for a little while. Like I couldn't get my heart rate above 130 so I had 2 weeks off, 2 weeks below 130, 2 weeks below 150 heart rate, and
And just
then
slowly
I
ramping up.
I didn't really have any negative, no recurring chest pain or anything. So I started back training, and that's when I started training for CCC. So it was like
Okay.
all of that happened. Like it was like, it's kind of funny how my brain made it. It was just like a race, a 50K, get second, and then I get selected, and I'm like about ready to go race Worlds, and then that whole month of June, which was when Worlds was like gone because of pericarditis, and then
Yeah.
by the time July comes around, it's like, yeah, start training for CCC. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was like kind of just, yeah, that's kind of how that went. But then yeah, specifically training for CCC, it's a big mountain race.
Yeah.
So
Lots of
really
elevation.
part of that question, lots of elevation gain. So just like running up and down mountains a lot.
Yeah.
Really focusing on getting vert over distance, is like probably the big thing there. Like
Yeah.
I think like, and actually I think I'll try to do better in the coming years or next year, is like, yeah, like in most training is like distance based or time based.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what has seemed to work really well for people in Europe is like training based on like their how many meters of vertical gain they get,
Mm.
rather than like distance or time.
Yeah.
Like shooting for like, I'm gonna go get 1,000 meters of vert, which isn't too much when you're running
Yeah.
trails, but and then like that's your goal for the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like a lot of up and down, because the race is just, I mean, there's no flat bit. There's like one flat bit, and it's like
Yeah.
passing through the town.
Do you
So
do any like special, I want to say auxiliary or cross training to build up different parts of the body to be able
mm,
to handle the like not necessarily the up, but I'm thinking about the down because like you're coming down after climbing so far and it's like you're
yeah,
smashing yourself.
no, not really. I'm
Yeah.
a big believer in specificity. Like, um, I don't think like yeah, I guess I could do like wall sits or something, and it might help. But like the thing that's gonna help me better at running
Actually
downhill
running
is
downhill.
running downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a big believer in specificity. Like I don't do like I cross train cycling, because I enjoy it and I can get more volume of cardio. But like I don't think like there's any replacement for running, or even probably anything like swimming or cycling or playing basketball or whatever. I don't think there's like any accessory training that is better for you than actually just doing the sport.
Yeah.
Like maybe a little more if you can, and then I think it's at that point where you're like, I can't do more because I'll get injured, or I can't do more because I don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where like, the cross training or like lifting or something is like really good for, maybe like amateurs who don't, or like people who work 40, 50, however many hours a week. Is like, you don't have time to like go run 10 miles. So you can like do what you can in the gym to try
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
mimic it. But yeah, I don't think you can really like shortcut it. Yeah, just try to run. And that's the beauty of like training in the mountains, is like, um, yeah, I gotta like get vertical gain, but with vertical gain comes vertical loss. So
Yeah.
it's all the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an answer. Probably
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
winded.
No, no, I like it. I like it. I dig it. For CCC, you go and do this race. I was watching kind of along James, your former coach, was sending me and
Hmm.
everybody else all these links, and we're watching you do it. And then watch you come across the finish line. And I watched a short little interview. Like it seemed to be a very beautiful but very tough race. I think you shed some tears at the end.
Hmm.
So talk me through that race. Like what was that experience like? I mean, obviously beautiful, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's gorgeous. Yeah, I don't that race. I mean, it's just a huge race. Like I always wanted to go there and race in Chamonix, around Mont Blanc. And that race, I knew I wasn't in like as good a fitness as I could have been because of my heart thing,
mm-hmm.
um, and just like having to rush training a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just like, I don't know, like I went for it. I was in the lead for a little while, which is kind of maybe not my best move, but I don't know how else to do these things
yeah,
except for like try to
Go
race
win
it.
it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it was just like, I don't know, it was hard. Like I was in the lead, and then I think going up the second big climb, Col de Grand Ferret or something like that. That starts in Italy. Actually, the race starts in Italy, and you go up and over into Switzerland, and there's a mountain pass that's like the biggest climb, one of the biggest climbs in the race.
How much elevation
Highest
are we
for
gaining
that
there?
one climb.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know, like maybe three. I think it's probably like a 3,000 foot climb.
Yeah, a lot then.
Which actually the first climb of CCC is actually the biggest climb, but this one's like goes up to the highest elevation. It's only like 8,000 feet. It doesn't get super high, but
Okay.
yeah, just like then I got past, and actually on that downhill I was getting past. Like there's a big downhill into Switzerland. It's like super gradual. Actually, like some of it feels flat, but it's super gradual. And most of Switzerland is actually just downhill. Or I think I get confused where the Switzerland to France border starts and ends. I don't know which mountain that is. But yeah, I was in, and I kept getting past. I went from like maybe second at the top of Foray to like, I think I was in, because I was like kind of having a bad moment.
Yeah.
Kind of like a low energy moment.
Yeah.
And I think I was in like fifth, and then you actually climb up to this crew spot where it's the first time you can like see your crew and get your like resupply and stuff. It's after 50K, so like halfway in the race. Like 5 hours in the race is the first time you can get like aid from your crew.
Yeah.
And I passed somebody going up. It's a climb up to this place called Champs-Élysées in Switzerland. Went from fifth to fourth. They on that like right after that climb, and then like immediately after that crew spot, I like hit like a super low moment. Got passed by like my friends. Got passed by one of my training buddies. Like actually a couple guys that live in Boulder. Which is fun. And then, or wasn't fun because
I was gonna say it doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, but then the back half of that race. So you're in Switzerland. The back half of that race is actually 3 kind of mountain passes. And like on each side of the mountain pass is like, so you go from Champs-Élysées up and over into Triant, and then Triant up and over to Valenciennes, and then Valenciennes up and over to Chamonix where it finishes. And yeah, like I was like in 8th place, and then I got up and over. I got through that bad spot and started catching people again. But yeah, it was just too little, too late. Like those climbs are pretty hard to. I wasn't gaining back on people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I almost
quit.
And then I did almost quit for a second.
Yeah.
But I like. Yeah, I don't know. Just like the race just played out. Like it's all kind of a blur, but I do know like the last 10 miles, I had a quite strong 10-mile section. and went from, I think 7th to 6th, and then almost caught 5th, which was like my good training buddy, Drew.
Yeah.
That I run with all the time here. And I almost caught him. And it's funny. He was like right ahead of me, and I saw him, and I was like, oh no, it's Drew. Like, cause I know how strong he is. And I was like, oh man, like I'm tired. I don't want to race Drew. And then like, there's a point I got so close to him, he turns around, he sees me.
Oh no.
And he just like, we start going up the switchback, and then we get to clearing, and like I can't see him. Like,
he just put the hammer down.
Yeah, he just put it on. Yeah. It was kind of funny. He said afterwards he was like feeling rough, and then he saw me and was like had renewed energy. Which is frustrating but also good.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, so yeah, I finished 6th, cried a little bit because I don't know, I was just like,
that's a huge thing, man.
Yeah, especially after the heart thing and not knowing like what my future in the sport was like. And then that race is just kind of, the crowd is so big, and it's very French, very romantic, and it's like just as like, people probably cry just watching the race. Yeah, like some random stranger finish. So, it was definitely a bit emotional, but crazy. Great experience, and was there with like a lot of people that I really enjoy hanging out with and being around. So
So you definitely want to do that one again, or you sound like you were deciding between CCC and UTMB, which UTMB is how much farther? Like 40 miles or?
Yeah, 40 miles. So actually, like
insane.
The 100K starts in Italy. Like the whole loop around from Chamonix around Mont Blanc and back to Chamonix is UTMB,
Okay.
Ultra Trail to Mont Blanc, and that's the 108-mile race, and then the 100K is what I did, and starts in Courmayeur, Italy, and so it's kind of like, it's actually just a little bit over half of the distance, so it's kind of heavy, but I'd like to maybe try the 100-miler there at some point.
Yeah. Are you feeling confident going into this next season? Are you dealing with any injury at the moment?
No, I feel good. Yeah, I mean, I've just like kind of been off.
Yeah, chilling.
In a bit of an off season, so kind of getting back, feeling good, like finally getting motivated. Like, it's always good. Like off season's funny because the first few days you're like tired maybe from the race before.
Yeah.
That your last race, and you're like you feel good, and then there's like a few days where you're like I hate this off season thing.
Yeah.
And then after that, for me at least, after that I was so lazy that like eventually I was like, oh, I can't imagine going for a run right now. Right? I just like sit on the couch and eat food.
Yeah.
And then then now I like started training again a little bit, like just last week.
Yeah.
Started back up, and it was like miserable. Like I was like, I don't want to go for a run, even though it's like 4 miles or something.
Yeah.
But then now I'm like finally getting into the swing of it, where I'm like annoyed, back to like the classic, like I'm annoyed if I don't get my full run in or whatever. Like, so yeah, feeling good. Like, yeah, definitely feeling motivated. This year is going to be like, I don't know. I kind of been like, I would say I've been like kind of soft footing it around, like not racing the biggest races in the world. Like I just haven't raced. Like there's a handful of top guys that I have not raced in the sport, and so this year's like that my schedule's lined up where it's like I'm finally racing these guys. So
can we find this schedule somewhere and link it in the podcast?
Yeah, I mean it's all like I got to stay injury free, but yeah, I'm currently signed up for a race in Spain. Well, it's on an island.
Okay.
So the trail running, especially at the high level, loves these island races for some reason.
Okay.
And so they're like Gran Canaria, which is the one I'm doing, which is like across the Gran Canaria, which is in the Canary Islands.
Oh, sweet.
That's like 75 miles. It's 120K.
Wow.
And that actually, like, I think I'm supposed to, like, I think the start list isn't out, but rumor has it like the
big boys are going.
The big boys are going to be there. And then then I'll go race after that. I'll race Canyons 100K to try to get into UTMB, and then if I race UTMB, that's like the biggest. So yeah, like 3 races really.
Yeah.
I might. There's another race I might do because I really like the culture of it, but here in California, but or not here. I'm not in California, but in the States.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so yeah, pretty like full on, like February into February is Canary, and like if the start list is what it's looking like it'll be, it's like a very stout race to start the season on. Which is great, like good motivation for the winter actually.
Yeah. Good deal, man. That's awesome. And then you just did the JFK 50 miler. You won it. You were trying to break the record, if that's right. Was this a good experience?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I hadn't been back since I won it in 2019 and got my, got sponsored or whatever after that. So it's a race that means a lot to me. And so this year I went back, like I had won it before. So I was kind of like, I'd like to go get the course record. And I know the guy who has a course record, and he's insanely good. So I was just kind of like, like it'd be nice to go get that. And I thought I had a good shot. And actually like was on course record pace for a lot of it. And then kind of just started to fall apart. It's a very flat race. So like a course like that, it's like you're on, it runs a lot more like a marathon. Like you're like focusing on your splits, like, I don't know, 550 pace or whatever is kind of what it takes for it to get the course record. And, I was on pace, and then next thing I know, I like popped a 7-minute mile in there, and I was like,
and you're still feeling like you're flying, but
you're just... Yeah. And then I started feeling bad, but it was, it's amazing. That race is so good. And like, it was nice to win because I hadn't won anything. Like the last time I had won a race before that
it was like 18 months, you said.
I was a race in France, in 2022. So it was like, with injury and all this stuff, like I hadn't really won a race. So it was nice to like go back there and win. And yeah, I love that race a lot. Like I don't know, I'll go back at some point. I don't know.
Probably not
I don't
next
really
year then.
have any. Yeah, I don't have too much desire to go back like soon.
Yeah.
It's too hard, and um yeah, I need to probably like focus on other things. Like actually, like to be honest, like I'd love to never race in November again. Like I'd like to take November and like just
Make it
ride my
off month.
bike.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or like, get ready for ski season.
Yeah.
But like um yeah, like unfortunately the way my season keeps going is I have to miss a race in the summer, so then I end up racing in the fall.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
which could be worse.
Yeah. Ski
But
season's coming up pretty quickly, or is it already started? Yeah.
yeah, I've already skied a couple times.
Nice.
Just like lift skiing, which is fun. But yeah, the snow here. We're actually supposed to get snow tonight, maybe here in
Oh, good.
Colorado, but which is great because it's been. Well, actually, I don't even know because like it snowed a few weeks ago and I got super grumpy about it. So, because it was really inconvenient
Yeah.
down here in the valley. But yeah, the ski season's here. I mean, it's not like I like to do like some backcountry skiing and
Yeah.
like
Helps you stay fit.
fitness laps. And it's not enough snow for that, so
Yeah, not quite yet.
that hasn't opened yet.
Yeah.
But
Sweet, man. Well, just
yeah,
a couple more questions,
yeah.
and then I will let you go. But during all these different setbacks, it sounds like you've had quite a few. What is the thing or the things that keep you going, that get you back to, okay, like this is my goal and motivation?
Uh, yeah. I mean, honestly, like the thing that like set, I don't even know. Like, I feel like I'm just like maybe I'm addicted to it, but also like I think it's just like a no brainer because there's been a few times like the heart thing was definitely a time where I actually had had thought, and there's another injury actually in 2022 that I was out for a while as well, and I definitely had thoughts like this would be easier if I just wasn't trying to race professionally. I could just chill, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah.
But then I think about that and it's like, yeah, it would be easier, it would be less stressful. Like I wouldn't care that I was sitting on the couch as much, but it's like I like can't imagine not like
Yeah.
keep not training, not trying to keep pushing at it, and I would just be bummed out that kind of back to the patience thing. Like historically, I haven't been patient, and it's kind of bummed me out. So like now I'm trying to be like a little more patient with injury and stuff, and like realize like it's just part of it, and like see the long game a little bit, and
Yeah.
I don't know, and it's fun. Like at the base of it, like
You
I
like,
like hanging out. I like the community. I like hanging out with my friends in running, and running is like this great way to just go jog around with your friends for
yeah.
I don't know, sometimes longer, like 6 hours, but
Yeah.
it's a good time.
Yeah. So last question then. As you are traveling more and more, it seems like you're mentioning Spain. We've talked about Mexico, over in Europe.
Hmm.
You're doing these different races. Your support system. I know you're married. How long have you been married, and
Hmm.
how does marriage play a role in all of this, and how does that balance work out?
Yeah, married to my wife Carrie Ann. We've been married for almost 4 years. I think our anniversary is like next week.
Oh,
I
do
don't
you
know.
got something
I have to do.
planned?
No, I'd have to do some math. I think we're going to be traveling, driving back to Tennessee actually,
Oh, nice.
for the holidays. But yeah, no, it's like the support system's amazing. Like, I mean, whether I don't know if she actually like wishes this on herself, but now she's like my crew person.
Yeah.
So like at these aid stations, like especially in Europe, you can only have like one person like help you.
Yeah, she's the one.
They don't allow anymore, and like she's the one, and it's like super nice because she knows what I want and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, it's a good balance. Like she runs and rides and does all the things that I do as well. So it's like she understands it. And like it's fun. Like sometimes we get to like we ski together. Like it's like
Yeah.
probably the most social thing we do together.
Yeah.
But the support or like most active thing we do consistently together. But like or like bike. Like we were in after CCC this year. We went to
Yeah.
Spain, and that's where I actually bumped into Seth Ryder. I didn't know he was living there.
Oh, nice.
Which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
He like hit me up because he saw that I was in Girona. And yeah, I just rode bikes with like her the entire time, which
That's
is
fun.
super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the support system's great. And I mean, like, I got a good her, and then like I got a good group of dudes that in the trail community they call us the Boulder Boys,
Okay.
which is we need a rebrand. Because it's kind of like lame, but yeah, like those guys are like such a good. We like support each other a lot. I think
Yeah.
through things and through running and yeah, and like like most of them are always like at the same races. So like yeah, it's a cool time where we just like have dinners together or whatever. So
Yeah. I
it's
got.
good. Yeah, the support system's solid.
Yeah. I got to ask one more question.
Hmm.
Give us some advice if someone out there who's going to be listening to this is thinking like, oh man, I kind of want to get into that. Maybe it's a young something because our age range is actually quite broad. The youngest
Hmm.
people we're getting on is like 14, 15. If somebody's thinking about coming out and being an ultra runner, what would your advice be to them?
Pack snacks.
Pack
Get
snacks.
pack snacks. It's a long ways to go.
Yeah.
No advice. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's not. I think like it's like everything. Like if you look at it for what it is, like 50 miles or 50K, or even if it's like a 5K trail race, you're like, oh, that's a long ways. But if
Hmm.
you just kind of like build towards it and work towards it and like kind of decompartmentalize it into like smaller bits of like, okay, like in 5 months, like that trail race is kind of daunting, but like today, all I have to do is, a 30-minute run. It's like easier. Like, I don't think like, especially even like now, like doing a lot of these, like if I'm running even a 50K, I can't think about it as 30 miles. Like it's
Sure.
just too daunting. It's just like I have to think about it in training. I just think about like what I need to do today, and then on the day of the race, it's like
Here we
that's
go.
like the whole. You're very successful to stay if you stay present, like minded, just like grounded in like what you're doing now, and not
Hmm.
not what
What's
the
coming?
next
Yeah.
however many miles has to
That's
in
great
store.
advice.
Then yeah, it's like um so it's I don't know, day by day or step by step or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the realistic advice, but also pack snacks because
Pack snacks.
it's good.
You have any marriage advice?
I have no marriage advice. That is out of my league. No, yeah, I have no. That is not. I probably shouldn't be speaking on
Yeah.
anything that I don't have a doctorate in
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah,
Good deal. Well, Seth, thank you so much for taking the time. Let me ask a lot of questions about what you got going on. Definitely excited to follow. To be honest, this is like so outside of my comfort zone in the ultra running space because I literally
hmm,
have this much knowledge. But thank you for answering the questions and fumbling through some of the stuff with me. I really appreciate it.
yeah. Of course, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Now you know. Now you can hop on,
Yeah, quit
watch
triathlon and
some.
go run.
Yeah, exactly. I recommend it for everybody.
Yeah,
Quit triathlon and do something else.
yeah. There you
No,
go.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure, man. Would you be interested in winning some free triathlon training gear from the company Synergy Wetsuits? If so, listen up. We are going to be working with them in partnership for the year of 2024, doing several different giveaways. This is the first of several giveaways, and this is going to be starting on March 8th. The gear up for grabs is going to be a swim cap, swim paddles, and race belt. If you're interested, check out the link in our show notes to the Stupid Questions podcast Instagram page, where you'll find the most recent post on March 8th that has all the details on how to enter that giveaway. Thank you so much to Synergy Wetsuits for sponsoring these giveaways, and we look forward to hopefully picking you. Thanks again so much to Seth for coming on and sharing a bit of his story. Pretty, what is the word I'm looking for? Authentic. Being able to share, especially about the stuff with eating disorder, was pretty neat to hear him just kind of share a little bit of a deeper side of things that I definitely have never touched on before on one of these podcasts. So thanks so much, Seth, for talking about that and obviously sharing his journey with all the different running stuff. I feel like I want to go run UTMB now at some point in my life. Never to his level, I can guarantee it, or even doing CCC. Some of those races is such a wild thing. Ultra running is actually how I got one of my mentors who kind of got me into doing endurance sport was an ultra runner and did 100 milers, and I go on like 7-8 mile runs with him and just couldn't even fathom running hundreds. So if you made it to this point in the podcast, just want to say thank you so much. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. All that stuff really does help us to grow. Um, if you are on, what am I going to say? One of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any of those, please do drop a review. If you have questions, you can on Spotify, because that's the main platform we use to distribute. You can ask questions on there. Again, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we would love it if you could share this with other people. So wherever you are listening, make sure to share it. All right. Thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you in the next one.